Could this happen in Kansas City?
It could happen anywhere, unfortunately, and there really is no way to predict it or stop it in its tracks unless we have intelligence knowing that it's going to happen.
The mass shooting. Yesterday here at 9, we asked former FBI agent Michael Tabman if a mass shooting could happen here in Kansas City, and you heard his response. He said it could happen anywhere. So while preventing these tragedies is difficult, knowing how to respond can save lives in these situations.
Joining us now is Doug Parisi. He is Director of Training at Safe Defend. And first off, let's welcome you in. Doug, it's good to see you. Thanks for coming on this morning. And let's start with first, what is the best way to prepare ourselves in case we find ourselves in the awful situation of an active shooter?
Well, Nick, thanks for having us here. Situational awareness is what actually is the most important for us, is understanding where we are. One of the things that I look at, and people say, can it happen here? And we've had ConAgra, we've had Midwest Chandelier, we've had Ward Parkway Mall, we've had the JCC, lots of these things. So it has happened here, and it's likely that it'll happen again. The thing that people have to understand is when you go out in public, you just need to become a little bit more vigilant in what your surroundings are. When I look at the venue that they were at, and I saw that the shooting started, a lot of the people headed right back towards the entrance that they had come through. They didn't bother to think, hey, maybe I'm closer to the stage, I need to head to those exits. And the same thing could be said for Royals or the Chiefs Stadium or even Sprint Center. If you're in a large venue, don't just come through that entrance, assume that you're going to be fine and go to your seat. Once you've found your seat, start looking around and say, where could I go? Are there storage rooms I can seek shelter in? Can I go behind this concessions area? What can the staff help me do? Because they're probably going to be guiding you and helping you towards safer exits. A lot of those places have exits for bringing in shipments and stuff like that they would use. That's what we saw in the Fort Lauderdale shooting, is that they literally opened up the entire secured areas and they just started putting people through that way.
We have heard so many amazing stories of people just jumping in to help others who were hurt. How could, if, God forbid, we're ever in a situation like this, what's your advice to help someone who's
Well, there's very simple training that you can have. At Safe Defend, we do a lot of this training. Safe Defend, we actually work with companies, schools and government agencies on how to prepare for active shooter situations, how to prepare for the sort of run, hide, fight ideas. But we also talk to them about trauma response. We're trained in how to teach people that. But the basics is people just need to go, there's programs online like the Department of Homeland Security has a Stop the Bleed program, and it teaches you about pressure points, improvised tourniquets, and trauma packs that help you. Representative Scalise just returned to the House floor, and the first person he thanked was the doctor that applied a tourniquet that saved his life. That was an improvised tourniquet, and so that's the type of thing. What can we use? You see a lot of people that use those nylon rope rescue cord bracelets. That can be undone and used as a tourniquet. But when you look at a mass casualty incident with 59 dead and 500 plus wounded, there's no way that the local EMS is going to be able to treat everybody. We need those citizens immediate responders. That's what we call it at Safe Defend. You're an immediate responder until help can get there.
awesome.
You know, Doug, this was so awful in so many ways. The term sitting ducks has been used out there, and we hate to use that term, but this guy, he was on the 32nd floor, and he was shooting down on a crowd of 22,000. He wasn't aiming, he was just shooting in the general area. I don't know how you would answer this question, but what can we do to protect ourselves from a possible unfathomable situation like those poor people found themselves in?
Yeah, it's a very difficult situation to be in. The biggest thing we have to do is accept that it's happening. There was a lot of people in denial. There's actually one guy that was standing there filming two police officers ducked behind a car, and I thought to myself, what's he doing? What you have to understand, whether it's run, hide, fight, flee, fortify, fight, avoid, deny, defend, whatever you want to use for the mantra, it all means the same thing. The best place to be, as we talk about at Safe Defend, is be somewhere else. So let's get there. So if you can get away, get away. But the human nature is going to be to duck, to hide. And that's fine. That should be your first idea. But what you always have to remember is run, hide, fight, all those things are not linear. You don't do one, then the other, then the other. You're constantly thinking, how do I have to do the other two? So if you're hidden down and that shooting's going on and you hear that pause when he was reloading, you can tell it was a longer pause of reloading than it was shooting. Maybe use that opportunity to move to the next point of cover, and then each time you can get farther and farther away. The one thing we want to do is avoid those open areas, so that's what I was talking about. Head for the exits, but also head for places of cover like behind the stage. There was several stories about people that went into a bathroom and they were secured in there. That's what we want to do. But what you have to do prior to that is have that plan in your mind. When you get on an airplane, the first thing they tell you is where the exits are. They don't think anything's going to happen. They just want you to start thinking, in an emergency, what are you going to do? And that's what we need to do. Safe Defend works with companies, tells them, hey, how do I get out? A lot of people even here would think, where am I going to go? Your best option is actually going to be heading into the forest behind the building. A lot of people would think running across, but that exposes you. In this type of situation in Vegas, we want to make sure, hey, I'm going to initially seek cover so that, or concealment so that I can't be seen, but then I'm going to need to start moving. What's my next plan? Always think, what's next, what's next?
Great advice.
Yeah.
It's sad that we have to think about these things, but it's important when we if we ever find ourselves in an awful situation like that. So thanks for sharing them, Doug. It's
Certainly.
great to see you. Appreciate it. Hey, for more tips or to learn more, you can visit safedefend.com. Now let's send it over to Michelle.